Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again, to here at the JW Marriott in Washington, D.C. for the 6th Annual Boy Scout Gala. It is so great to be back together in person. I hope you had a lovely meal, but at this time, we are going to go ahead and get started with our program. I know many of you already, but for those of you who I do not know, my name is Zach Schoenfeld. I'm an Eagle Scout and a Vigil Honor member of the Order of the Arrow here in the Amengemek-Whippet Lodge as part of the National Capital Area Council. I'm a former Section NE6A chief and a former National Chief of the Order of the Arrow. But tonight, it is my privilege to be your MC. We are all here tonight to support the National Capital Area Council, an organization with programs for boys and girls that helps them become outstanding citizens and leaders. And we're also here to honor 6 outstanding individuals for their contributions to our community. Now, please join us for the presentation of the colors. Please rise.
Please stand for the presentation of the colors. Colors, attention. Colors, forward march. Colors, ho! Present the colors. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Scout salute. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Now please join us in the Scout Oath. Scout signs up. Ready, begin.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
Now please join us in saying the Scout law. Ready, begin.
A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
2. Now may you please bow your heads and close your eyes for a prayer. Thank you, God, for another good day, for helping and guiding us along the way. Thank you for BSA's National Capital Area Council and the planners for this annual gala. Please bless all that are here in attendance, both in person and virtually. And please bless the food we are about to receive and bless the hands that prepared it. Finally, God, I ask that you'll steer this event so that it will be pleasing in your sight and be the success it's intended to be. All of this I ask in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Please have a seat. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Craig Poland, the Scout Executive of the National Capital Area Council. Craig, would you please join me on stage to provide us an update on scouting here in the National Capital Area?
Good evening, everybody. Before I start, I wanted to just take a moment and thank, and he still has some work to do here, but I wanted to thank Zach for all that he's going to do this evening. Zach is a great representative of National Capital Area Council, as you've already seen and will see as we progress this evening. So, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Well done. Thank you. Also, I want to take just a second and thank the chairman for our event this evening. Tom Donahue is with us tonight. And Tom, if you'd come forward for a moment, we have a small token of our appreciation for you. On his way up, I'll tell you that certainly there are numerous activities and events like this that can be supported throughout our area. And so for someone like Tom to take the time and energy to put into supporting a scouting event, we greatly appreciate it. So, Tom, on behalf of National Capital Area Council, thank you, sir, so much.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So, good evening, everybody. We have some scouts over there. Does that sound like what you would hear at summer camp? Is that the kind of response? Look at the heads. No way. Good evening, everybody. More like it. Thank you so much. It's great to see everybody here this evening. I'm Craig Poland, Scout Executive for National Capital Area Council, and I'm pleased to actually see people in person. We've spent so long looking at each other through the little square boxes that it's nice to be together, actually celebrating something and socializing. I thought about what I wanted to talk about tonight and actually settled on what is probably top of mind for many of us, and that is what we've gone through for the last 18 months as it's related to COVID. Certainly that time period has been challenging for all of us, but I thought that there'd be some things I could share and tie into scouting that might be relevant for this evening. Before I do that, I want to start off a little bit and share with you some things about myself. Beginning with, I grew up in rural West Virginia and had an amazing experience in scouting and in life in general growing up. But there are some things that, in the interest of being transparent, that I do want to share with you tonight, and I think you'll understand why then as we move forward. So I'll start with the first one, and the first one is, I will admit to you that I drank a substantial amount of unfiltered water out of a garden hose growing up. That is something that I absolutely did. Number two, in Scouts, we cooked a lot on open fires, and I will tell you that I ate more than one meal that was not completely done in terms of being fully cooked. So that was a challenge as well. Number three, as we progressed, I siphoned a lot of gasoline actually out of my family's vehicles to run my Honda 70 motorcycle, and I spit out more than a few mouthful of gasoline. So that could explain a lot as well. The fourth thing I'll share with you is that during elementary school, I stapled the thumb and forefinger of a classmate together. It's true. And for that, I received numerous paddle smacks from the principal with a board and several more when I got home from my dad. So I didn't do that anymore, just for the record, and for you guys sitting over there, don't do that. And the fifth thing that I will tell you, very matter-of-factly also, is that ultimately, as I grew up, I had a great time working and being involved in Scouts, but I also didn't learn my lesson completely, in as much as I had my mouth washed out with lava soap by my mom a few times for some language that we won't go into this evening. So those things were all challenges that I faced growing up, and I share those with you because as much as I thought they were challenging and tough at the time, compared to what our kids have gone through recently through the last 18 months, they don't even really compare. And we were talking a little bit about where we grew up at my table as we were eating, and certainly those types of challenges are things that all of our kids have had to deal with. The reality is, for the last 18 months, our kids have given up just about every measurable benchmark for things that are enjoyable in their lives. If you think about it, they've given up holidays with family, they've given up birthday parties and social events with friends, they've given up going to school in many cases, they've given up full seasons of sports, they've given up dances, homecomings, prom, and things as important as graduation. And they'll never get those things back. And that's a real shame when you think about it. In addition to that, they've also battled other challenges. They've battled depression, anxiety, irritability, anxiousness, all of those symptoms of being at home and being quarantined and losing the interaction that we all value so much. Interestingly enough, just from some of the basic surveys that have been done so far, it's been determined that kids that have been quarantined as a result of COVID are 5 times more likely to need mental health support as they get older. So let that sink in a little bit. The fact is, our kids need to be outside, they need to be socializing, they need to be with others, and that's exactly what in Scouting we tried to do during the pandemic. We never backed off in terms of trying to deliver our program and make a difference amongst young people. Interestingly enough, when you look at our 111-year-old Scout oath, There are a lot of really good points that are contained in that, but I'll share a quote that comes right out of it, and that is, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. That's right out of the Scout Oath, and we use that to kind of drive what we were doing for Scouts during the pandemic every single day. And I'll share just a few examples of how we did that. To help other people at all times. So throughout the pandemic, we made sure that we continued to follow through on a very important tenet of Scouting, which was helping other people. And we did that through a number of service projects. They included everything from food collection drives using socially distanced methods to keep everybody safe. We had Scouts that actually planted and grew their own gardens to provide food to their neighbors. We checked on the elderly. We cleaned up our communities. We cleaned up streams. We made PPE equipment for first responders. We did all of those sort of things, and amazingly enough, through the height of the pandemic, we safely provided over 300,000 hours of community service here in the National Capital Area Council, and that's pretty amazing when you think about it. To keep ourselves physically strong, NCAC created a number of ways to do that. We needed to keep our kids engaged and moving forward. And so we were able to work and create family camping weekends that our families took advantage of together. They could actually come out and participate free of charge at one of our properties. And we had over 1,000 folks that took part in that during our pandemic year. We also created a summer camp at home program because we couldn't run summer camp in person. So we actually created a Scouting in a Box that we provided to our folks so they could camp in the backyard safely, but still be outdoors with their family. And ultimately in 2021, this past summer, when a lot of organizations were still staying closed, we opened our camps, Goshen Scout Reservation and Camp William B. Snyder, and we had over 6,000 youth and adults participate this summer without one single solitary COVID issue. Mentally awake. It's important to be sound physically, but it's also important to be sound mentally. We did that as well. We created a wealth of opportunity for youth to participate in programs during COVID-19. They included STEM series, outdoor adventure programs, speaker series that used local heroes, health officials, military leaders, first responders. We even had an astronaut that took place. We had over 100,000 individuals that participated in the last year in those programs. And during a time when you couldn't go out and see a merit badge counselor face-to-face, last year our Scouts locally earned over 28,000 merit badges. That's the kind of impact that we had keeping our Scouts mentally awake. And morally straight, to wrap up, that's certainly very, very important as well. And in just a moment, you're going to see a video from one of our Scouts, Megan Mazzell, who actually built a 9/11 memorial locally that is quite impressive. And I will tell you that this event, the tragedies of 9/11, occurred before Megan was ever born. But she found it so important to make sure that those individuals were recognized that she overcame red tape and all sorts of hurdles to make this reality, this monument a reality. And you'll hear a little bit more about that, as I said. But I'll share with you one quote that came from an individual within the video. And it's a very simple quote, but it says, literally, would you look at what she did for this community? And that's exactly what Scouting's about, providing service to others and supporting our communities. And Megan is a great example of that. Scouting didn't come through the last 18 months unscathed. We lost a lot of our members because their Scout units stopped meeting, and we're still working to try to recoup those families who had to leave. We had others who couldn't participate in outdoor activities or events because they weren't able to take place. And we also had families within our Scouting family that lost family members due to COVID. So it was not an easy time for us either, but we persevered and we remained resilient because that's what Scouts do. And ultimately, I'll close with sharing with you American author Napoleon Hill once said, "The strongest oak in the forest is not the one that is protected from the storm and hidden from the sun, but it's the one that stands in the open and is compelled to struggle and benefit from its existence from the winds, rains, and the scorching sun." And I will tell you that's exactly what Scouting has done over the last 18 months, and thanks to you, we'll continue to do that as we move forward into the future. Thanks for coming out this evening. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks.
Working here in Arlington with so many guys that responded, 9/11 is extremely symbolic. It's the reason I'm here doing this job. About 10 years ago, FDNY, they brought down the piece of steel. It sat like that in a grassy field for 10 years.
I would take walks with my family or drive past here sometimes, and it was always like a random piece of metal sticking out of the ground. I asked my dad what the significance of it was, and then he told me about 9/11.
For a lot of folks that are her age or younger, 9/11 is an event that happened in history. I was originally born and raised right outside New York City, and on September 11th, I was actually working in New York City. Through my experiences, Megan has been able to appreciate exactly what happened and the sacrifices that were made that day.
I'm trying to show younger generations how it really has affected how people are today.
The fire department has been looking for somebody to come help create a memorial around the steel.
My Eagle Scout project was building a memorial by the I-beam.
It was an awesome process to be involved with. Megan, she was never deterred. She just wanted to keep on going.
This I-beam is from New York, and it was given to Arlington for the 10th anniversary. Around it is a wood outline of a pentagon, and it's actually oriented towards the actual pentagon over there. So that's pretty cool. I like that part.
This year being the 20th anniversary of 9/11, Megan's project was actually the backbone and the centerpiece of the whole thing. The fire chief wanted to make sure we did things right, that we brought back retirees and responders from the Pentagon.
Family and loved ones of people who died on September 11th are here with a place to sit for a little bit and share some memories.
When the first responders came to lay the roses down, it felt very peaceful.
The biggest contribution she's made to the community is giving people an opportunity to come and to learn and reflect on the events of that day.
Some of the scouts that were here with Megan today, extremely young, and this is something that they can show to other scouts in the future and say, look what she did for this community.
Scouting has had a tremendous impact on her life.
I don't think I would be quite the person I am today without doing it, because that's where I've also met a lot of my friends and a lot of people that I'm very close to right now.
You see that lifetime passion created for service, for consideration of others, for positive citizenship in the community. Of all the other after-school programs that are out there, it's something that only scouting can deliver.
And I just watch people walk up to it all the time, and it means a lot. I am overwhelmed. It meant a lot to me, and to see where it's at right now. And I mean, just the day she did it, the amount of people that stopped at this thing was incredible.
Thank you, Craig, for your inspiring remarks, and what a great project by Megan that really benefited the community here in Arlington. As you know, the proceeds from tonight will benefit our local youth in scouting. And because of your support tonight, we have raised nearly $500,000 for scouting. Let's give ourselves a round of applause for that. Now, to express our sincere appreciation to the major contributors who made this evening successful, I want to take a moment just to recognize some of them. Our patron sponsors, Amazon, Bobby Birchfield, Tom Donahue. Our table sponsors, the American Gas Association, the American Society of Association Executives, Berkshire Hathaway, Household and Commercial Products Association, the National Grocers Association, JBG Smith, JLL, the U.S. Travel Association. Our Friends of Scouting sponsors, the American Petroleum Institute, Conference Direct, CRESA, Edison Electric Institute, Shoppers, and Weiss Markets. And our in-kind contributors, LAI Video, the National Beer Wholesalers Association, and the Wine Institute. We would like to thank everyone who contributed to this event tonight at any level. Give yourselves one more round of applause for all of our contributors' generosity. Before we get to our honorees, I also want to take a moment to thank the members of the committee who made this event tonight possible. I want to thank our event chair, Tom Donahue, as well as members of the committee, Bobby Birchfield, Stephen Caldera, Tom Kuhn, Leslie Saracen, Samuel Schreiber, Robert Skelton, and Morgan Sullivan. Let's give them a round of applause. Tonight, 4 of our honorees are being presented with the Good Scout Award in recognition of noteworthy personal and professional accomplishments in their industry, and because they embody the ideals of the Scout Oath and law. At this time, I would like to introduce our first honoree of the evening. Greg Ferrara is the president and CEO of the National Grocers Association. NGA, headquartered in Arlington, Virginia, is the national trade association that is the voice of the retail and wholesale companies which comprise the independent sector of the supermarket industry, as well as those companies that provide products and services to the industry. Having first joined NGA in November 2005, Mr. Ferrara brings a wealth of experience in the grocery industry, having managed his family's century-old supermarket in New Orleans before the store was ultimately destroyed in Hurricane Katrina. He is an Eagle Scout and is an avid outdoorsman who enjoys camping and cooking. He and his wife, Nicole, are the proud parents of 2 children, Matthew and Caitlin. Greg, would you please join me on the stage? Now, one of the highlights of this award is that we get to get the honorees prepared and in uniform. So I'm going to have our Scout Executive, Craig Poland, help me for each of our honorees and go ahead and put a neckerchief and a hat as well as a statue for all of our honorees tonight.
Congratulations, sir. And we're going to step over here on the X and get a picture.
And I have to keep it on while I'm talking to you tonight as well. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. And let me just say how humbled I am to receive this great honor. And let me also congratulate the other honorees this evening. I am truly, truly honored to be able to share the stage with each of you. And to all of our participants and supporters, thank you for all that you do to support Scouting, and especially our young people who are our future. I also want to recognize my family who is here this evening with me, my wife, Nicole, my daughter, Caitlin, and my son, Matthew, who's currently Senior Patrol Leader of Troop 991 and is a Star Scout. I also want to thank my colleagues who are here tonight as well, taking time away from their families. And I also want to especially thank my members, including Ron Bonanchi from Weiss Markets and Mike Steigers and his team from Cub Foods who came in this evening to be here. I'm really grateful for all that you do. The organization that I am privileged to lead, the National Grocers Association, is a trade association that represents the $253 billion independent channel of the supermarket industry. What often sets an independent grocer apart are their ties to their local communities, stores that are often locally owned with owners having lived and worked in their community for generations. They are part of the fabric of their community, which is why at NGA we say that the independent grocers are at the heart of the community. Scouting is an integral piece of that fabric, helping to shape the future of our nation, and independent grocers are proud to play a role in supporting the great program. I was fortunate to have grown up in Scouting from an early age as a Cub Scout, where my dad led our Cub Scout den of boys. We were exposed to fun and knowledge during those years, even including how to cook a biscuit on a stick. And yes, we ate it, and no, I have not done it again since then. Over the years, we got into a little mischief, we learned great lifelong skills, and we were inspired to continue in Scouting. Once I joined Boy Scouts with Troop 100 in New Orleans, I quickly learned responsibility and how to work as part of a team. During our monthly campouts, everyone had a job or responsibility, and a failure in that system meaning letting down the rest of the group. We also learned great life lessons from our scout leaders. I remember one campout where our assistant scoutmaster got a flat tire. Instead of getting frustrated, he took it as a teaching moment and taught us how to properly and safely change a tire. And that life skill is still with me today. Throughout the years, I've had the opportunity to spend 2 weeks hiking at Philmont Scout Ranch in New Mexico and scuba diving in the Florida Keys at the Sea-Based National High Adventure Base. Talk about amazing experiences. During my time in Scouting, I was also fortunate to spend 10 summers working at my local council summer camp. Let me tell you, spending 8 weeks in the summer in the pine woods of southern Mississippi, it's where you'll quickly find out if nature is for you or not. Fortunately for me, it was some of the best years of my life. We worked hard in unbearable heat and humidity. We overcame countless problems and challenges. We learned how to lead and inspire others. And maybe most importantly, we had an opportunity to have a positive impact on someone's life. Those years working at Camp V-Bar at Falmouth Scout Reservation had a profound impact on my life, and they continue to influence me as a leader today. In 2014, I achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. I'm not sure I fully appreciated how important that achievement was until later in life. To this day, I'm proudly list Eagle Scout on my resume, and I can say that it comes up more times than I would have imagined in numerous professional conversations. Scouting provided me with the opportunity, and I am continuously grateful. Maybe my most rewarding experience in scouting has been to be part of the program with my son, Matthew. From Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts, I've watched him grow and mature. He's made lifelong friends and is a better person for his time in scouting. During the early months of the pandemic, scouting was a social lifeline for our skills, as Craig said. We kept our boys busy and together, first virtually and then in person, finding safe and fun outdoor activities. And for so many kids in the DC metro area, scouting was a program that helped bring them structure and social engagement when our kids needed it most. When I think of the 12 points of the Scout Law, I'm reminded how important each of those are to our businesses, but especially independent grocers. Just think about it. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. They really are a guide for being a successful community business, and maybe something more of us should follow daily. So thank you again for this honor, and to Scouting for giving me so much throughout the years. If nothing else, I hope that each of you in person or watching at home is inspired to find more ways to continue supporting Scouting in your local community and helping us support tomorrow's leaders. Thank you so much for this honor.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrara. Our second honoree of the evening is Karen Alderman Harbert. Mrs. Harbert is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the American Gas Association. Founded in 1918, AGA represents more than 200 local energy utility companies that deliver natural gas to 178 million Americans nationwide. Prior to joining AGA, she was the President and Chief Executive Officer of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Global Energy Institute. Under Mrs. Harbert's leadership, the Energy Institute evolved into a premier national and international organization dedicated to advancing a constructive energy agenda with the business community, policymakers, and consumers. Mrs. Harbert led the Energy Institute's development of its comprehensive Energy Works for Us platform, which provides policy recommendations to secure our nation's energy future and create millions of jobs, billions of dollars in revenue, and trillions of dollars in private investment. She received a degree in international policy studies and political science from Rice University in Houston, Texas, and Mrs. Harbert resides in Washington, D.C. with her husband and 2 children. Mrs. Harbert, will you please join me on stage?
Congratulations. Thank you. Here we go. Let's get over on the
Over here?
We'll get a picture.
All right. I like that walk-up music. Thank you. Keep it alive. Well, good evening, everybody. Zach, thank you for that kind introduction. My mother would be embarrassed and would deny it all. But first of all, thank you to the Boy Scouts, and I'll get into that in just a moment. But I want to acknowledge Tom Donahue as the chair of this. You really put your shoulder to the wheel to make this happen and be in person. And Tiffany, wherever you are, you're a miracle worker. Thank you. Keeping us on task to make this a reality. So thank you. And I will have to say that Tom actually, even before I had more intense involvement with the Boy Scouts, got me involved by going to a Boy Scouts meeting and coming back and saying, hey, there's this energy merit badge thing. Karen, can you take a look at it? Because I've got people that can fix this, he told the Boy Scouts. I was the people, the person who actually looked at the Energy Merit Badge, and we revised it and became good partners with the Boy Scouts to really increase energy awareness with the Boy Scouts and now the Girl Scouts as well. So thank you, Tom, for that opportunity. I bear a lot of weight from my predecessors because two of my immediate past predecessors, both Dave McCurdy and Dave Parker, who led AGA, were recipients of this award as well. So clearly there's a gilded chair when you become the president and CEO of AGA. You immediately are further glued to the Boy Scouts. So I'm grateful to them and all they contributed to this organization. And my general counsel is a Scoutmaster, and at my table, as part of the AGA family, is Jim Davenport, who's an Eagle Scout. So thank you, Jim, for all that you have done. And I'm a Scout mom. I'm sad to say my son did not make it to Eagle Scout, but we had a lot of good times when we were out. I was that person. I went on those overnights rather than my husband because I wanted to be out there. I'm a hunter, fisher, camper kind of a person. But I was the person that instead of bringing the PB&Js and the Subway sandwiches, I brought like the cedar plank, and I did the salmon and the bacon and the eggs in the morning. And to this day, I'm still not sure, right? If you're gonna do it, glamping. I'm not sure whether I'm the hugest source of embarrassment for my son or whether he became super popular because the bacon and the salmon and everybody came by, our campsite. But he learned a lot and I learned a lot and we had a great amount of fun. First of all, I just want to make clear, I am not accepting this award on behalf of Karen Harbert. I'm accepting this award on behalf of the natural gas industry, our utility industry, and on behalf of AGA. Because I think our industry and my fellow employees and colleagues at AGA live the values of the Scout Law and the values every day. And I thought I might just highlight a few of the ones that really stood out to me without boring you too long with having nice wine and a nice dessert coming. First, the word help stands out to me, and we've been living through a pandemic, and we've needed a lot of help. And our industry has stood up. We were deemed essential at the very outset of this pandemic by the government because we needed to serve those 180 million Americans that Zach just mentioned to keep the energy flowing into their homes, whether it's winter, as we're heading into keeping the heat on, whether it's being able to cook your food. They stood up, and we saw something about 9/11. 9/11, this was our 9/11. When people rushed home because they needed to, our industry rushed in. And they leaned in to make sure that when people came home, that they had the comforts, at least that they didn't have to worry about what was happening with energy in their home. And I'm so proud that they did that. And then they went beyond that and they helped their communities. They turned their parking lots, because they were empty, because their vehicles were all out on service, for food banks. They turned over their billboard advertising to local charities. They figured out ways to really go above and beyond. And then there's the word brave. I already mentioned 9/11, but I'll tell you, it takes a really brave person to figure out that you have to deliver 24/7, 365. You can't do that from your dining room. And so these people went and they established RV parks, and they camped there. They quarantined themselves there, away from their families, so they could continue to provide the energy that we all needed and relied upon. They sent food trucks. They sent mobile medical units to keep the employees safe, but able to provide the energy that not only our communities, but our nation was depending upon. They were obedient. Safety first. That is our North Star in this industry, safety first. Every employee takes their responsibility very seriously to keep their fellow employees safe, and just as importantly, the community in which they serve safe. And I'm proud to say that we have been able to demonstrate that through a completely different business model, that we have kept our communities and our employees safe. By what? Following the rules. And that's important for the Scouts as well. Following the rules, drill every day for the worst scenario. We've done that, and we've shown that we can come through it. Be prepared, as the slide said earlier. And last but not least, be cheerful and kind. I mean, my gosh, we need more of that right now, right? I think as an industry, we really like each other. I think at AGA and my colleagues that are at my table 13, lucky number 13, not sure how that happened. But we all like each other and we support one another. AGA is so proud to have been the recipient of the Washington Post's Best Place to Work 7 years in a row. It's because we're cheerful, we're kind, we're obedient, we're loyal, and we're dedicated. So I'm just proud to serve this industry. I'm proud to represent AGA. We're so thankful for this award, and we're so proud of what the Boy Scouts does every day for the next leaders of this country, because we're going to need leadership. It's not getting easier, it's getting harder in this country, and we're going to need that transparent, authentic, dedicated, committed leadership that the Boy Scouts provide. So thank you so very much. I'm honored on behalf of our industry and AGA to accept this award. Thank you.
Can't forget that.
My former boss, right?
Our third honoree this evening is Matthew Jones. Matthew Jones is the President and Chief Executive Officer at Leading Authorities Incorporated, one of the nation's most prominent event design and lecture agencies, with unique capabilities in lecture representation, media and event production, and entertainment. Prior to assuming his role as president and CEO, Jones served as Chief Operating Officer at Leading Authorities from 2010 through 2019. He has been cited as an expert on the lecture circuit and the events industry in the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Fortune, The New Yorker, and Time Magazine. Jones is a graduate of Hampton-Sydney College in Virginia. And a special thank you to Mr. Jones and LAI for creating impactful videos for our gala here for the last 6 years, and the amazing video you saw of Megan earlier this evening. On behalf of the National Capital Area Council, Boy Scouts of America, it is my honor to present Matthew Jones with the Communications Good Scout Award.
With the hat, how's that? All right. Absolutely. Okay, I tried to bargain for the scotch. Zach said it was the hat. If anybody knows me or ever got an email from me, you would be wondering why I get the Good Communications Award from the Scouts. The reality is I don't deserve this award. The good people at Leading Authorities who did all the work on these videos and past events, they're the ones that deserve all the awards. And I assure you, I wish they were up here wearing this hat, standing before you, accepting it, but reality is I've got to do that for them. They're a bunch of creative, hardworking people, and I'm very happy and proud of the support we give the Scouts every year, so thanks to them. I don't know if Megan is here, but that is a project that she should be incredibly proud of. Anytime you do an Eagle Scout project where you can make a fireman choke up, I think you've done a pretty good job. I was an Eagle Scout in this chapter, and my Eagle Scout project was building a footbridge on a trail that I'm not sure a lot of people used over what I called a creek, but probably was more of a puddle. And nobody made a video about it. And that's the right thing. The reality is, if you become an Eagle Scout, it's not just about you. You get all the attention, but there were a ton of people that helped you along the way. There are scouting parents and leaders and everything that helped make that happen, and there are a room full of them today. I was fortunate enough to have a great scoutmaster growing up, and it's somebody that kind of kept us in line, and when we kind of strayed from the scout oath and law, got us back in line. And since it feels like we're you started it, kind of confessing some sins up here, I thought maybe this was the appropriate place for me to apologize to Mr. AJ, who was my scoutmaster growing up. Mr. AJ's day job was as a wine importer. And you can imagine that some scouting troops would have problems getting parents to volunteer for long campouts. He never had that problem. The dads signed up regularly for this. And myself and the boys of the Frontier Patrol, and I think it was like 88, came to appreciate that the wine that Mr. AJ brought was, in fact, expensive, and they did notice that a few bottles were missing. And, that's our fault. And so the next day, after a long hike in full packs, we apologized. And, Mr. AJ kept us on track, and here we are. So I feel like I'm better now that I've got that out. But I'll stop with that confession. I can't say thank you enough for the opportunity to support the Scouts. It's an honor for leading authorities. It's an honor for my colleagues. Megan and Zach, you guys are great examples of Scouts. Thank you for all you do. And this is a kind honor, and off we go. Thanks, guys.
Now for the introduction of our next honoree of the evening. Holly Sears Sullivan is a double graduate of UT, earning her Bachelor of Arts in Urban Studies in 1994 and her Master of Science in Urban and Regional Planning in 1998. Since then, she has had a storied career, leading her to her current role as head of worldwide economic development at Amazon. In her position with the tech giant, she led the company's HQ2 search that resulted in a new headquarters nearby in Crystal City, Virginia, and an operations hub in downtown Nashville. Prior to joining Amazon, Mrs. Sullivan was president of the Montgomery Business Development Corporation in Montgomery County, Maryland. She was lauded as the 2018 Newsmaker of the Year by the Nashville Business Journal for her role in Amazon's investments in Tennessee. Holly, would you please join me on stage to receive your award?
The hat's a little big. I gotta put on glasses so I can see. Thank you all so much. What a great honor this is, and appreciate just seeing people in the same room. This is my first event, gosh, in 2 years, so it's just great to see smiling faces. When I think about my work, I'm reminded how the Scout Law is very parallel to Amazon's leadership principles. We have 17 leadership principles that guide us in our daily work. A few examples of our leadership principles are earn trust, insist on highest standards, frugality, and we have a new one, which is that success and scale bring broad responsibility. I believe this is a very important principle. In my role at Amazon, my team and I, we engage with communities to bring jobs and investments to locations around the world. Our philosophy is that as we engage in these communities, we want to do more than just provide jobs and that investment. We want to be part of the community, we want to be a good neighbor, and we want to have long-term benefits to the community as a whole. This promise is similar to the Scouts and how young lives are improved by being engaged with the organization. I want to thank you very much for this award, and I am a wife of an Eagle Scout. I am a mom of a new Scout, and I have to say, Karen, you one-upped me. I will not be that mom going on camping. My idea of camping is the JW, but I'm sure I can make some great meals that they can pack with them. But when I think about this organization, I'm so proud that my daughter is now engaged with the organization because it's going to teach her responsibility, it's going to teach her how to be a leader, and it's going to teach her how to be inclusive. So again, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan, for your remarks. Tonight's honorees are great examples in the community and represent what it means to be a good Scout. These were certainly well-deserved awards. Next, we have the presentation of the Baden Powell Award. This is unique to the National Capital Area Council, as it was created specifically for this event and named after the founder of the Scouting movement to honor an exceptional volunteer. A native of England, Maggie vaguely remembers a short stint in the Girl Guides in Britain in her hometown of Cambridge, England. But it wasn't until she met and married Jim and moved to the States that she came in touch with American Scouting. When their son, Ben, started Cub Scouts, she became a den leader, and she's been involved in Cub Scouting and community service to children ever since. Maggie just completed her 5th year as director of the annual Seneca District Cub Scout Day Camp. She served as District Cub Scout Roundtable Commissioner for 13 years. She has received the District Award of Merit and the Silver Beaver Award. She earned her Wood Badge beads in 2009 and has since served twice on Wood Badge staff. She wears her uniform proudly, and when she sees Scouts in uniform, she always takes the time to speak with them and encourage them to continue in Scouting. Maggie and Jim are the proud parents of 3 children and 10 grandchildren. Would you please join me on stage for your award?
I'm a little nervous. What an honor it is to be here this evening, where successful leaders in our community are being recognized. I am extremely grateful to my family and friends for the support they have shown over the years, and I am humbled to have the opportunity to be here and say a few words about Scouting. Growing up in England, I don't remember hearing much about Boy Scouts. However, I do remember my brother going to Boy Scout camp for a week and returning with all his clean clothes still in neat little piles in his bag. He had worn the same clothes all week, and I remember my dad having to cut off his mud-caked socks with scissors. Here in America, when our son Ben became a Cub Scout at 8 years old, I became his den leader. Being a den leader and then a Cub Master is where I found my passion for the Scouting movement. After several years, I became involved with the local Scout district as a Cub Scout Roundtable Commissioner, leading a monthly themed meeting to help Scout leaders run their Cub Scout pack meetings. I really loved the pizzazz and energy that came with that. As a Boy Scout, our son Ben did all the Boy Scouting activities: kayaking, rock climbing, cycling the C&O Canal, hiking the Appalachian Trail, camping, building fires, and much more. His 2 sisters, who were near his age, were doing soccer, basketball, and baseball. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they couldn't understand why they weren't in scouting doing the things that their brother was doing. Now that has been fixed, and scouting has girls in packs and troops in addition to venturing crews and explorer posts. The playing field has been leveled and made better for all the youth of our nation. This expansion of scouting to include girls and young women is very real to me. I've just recently finished 5 years as the District Cub Scout Day Camp Director, where boys and girls spend a week having fun in age-appropriate adventures and educational activities out of doors. At our camp this year, we had several teenage young women in scouting who served as our junior staff. These junior staff girls set up canopies, carried gear, helped lead events for the Cub Scouts, interacted in many other ways with the Cub Scouts, and were constantly asking me what they could do to help. The leadership that these young women showed was simply impressive. Several years ago, I served as a staff member for Wood Badge trainings. Wood Badge is an advanced leadership training course for adult scouters. We had some teenage young women from a venturing crew who taught some classes to 50 adults. These young women shared their skills and their knowledge with an amazing amount of confidence and expertise. Young women training adult men and adult women in scouting. My involvement in scouting has had a huge influence on whom I am today. Serving with adult leaders who reflect my values has been an amazing experience. It has been a privilege to work with others who dedicate their time, talents, and money to scouting. The result is a powerful program that teaches young men and young women how to become better citizens and leaders in our communities and our nation. Today, the Family Scouting Program includes not only young women and girls and young men and boys, but also actively engages their parents and other significant adults. This is a wonderful way for families to be together on this great adventure we call scouting. Scouts BSA is more than a program or organization for youth. It is nothing less than a movement based on the principles of the Scout Oath and Scout Law. On my honor, I will do my best, are the first words of the Scout Law, which continues with our duty to God and to country and to help other people at all times. Add to this the 13 points of the Scout Law, starting with trustworthy and ending with reverent, and you have a movement of character building, leadership, and adventure that is second to none in our world. I thank all of you who are helping this movement to survive and to thrive. We need scouting, and your support has a great effect on the lives of the young men and young women who participate in scouting. Thank you very much for this honor.
Congratulations, Maggie, once again, and thank you for your service and dedication to scouting. These examples of service and dedication bring us to our last award of the evening. It is my privilege to introduce some very special guests to present our final award. Kelly, Harrison, and Connor, will you please come up on stage?
Hello, I'm Harrison Campbell and I am John Graham's grandson. Our grandfather had a passion for Boy Scouts. He supported us in scouting, whether we were camping, selling popcorn, or racing our Pinewood Derby cars in Cub Scouts. He encouraged us to stick with it no matter what. In fact, both Connor and myself are working up the ranks to Eagle. I'm a Star Scout and Connor is second class. And our younger brother Charlie is a Bear in Cub Scouts. He lived by the 12 points of the Scout Law and taught us the value of living by them and incorporating them in our daily life.
Hello, I am Connor Campbell, another grandson. Our grandfather would be so honored to know that we are here today honoring his legacy. He was an amazing grandfather and also a role model who taught us to live by the Scout oath to do our best every day.
This year, NCAC continues the tradition of honoring Gala founder and our grandpa, John H. Graham IV. John served on the board of National Capital Area Council as council president, as Gala chair, and past chair of finance. Collectively, over his years of service, he helped raise over $10 million for scouting. He served scouting all the way to the end and never stopped living by the Scout oath and law.
To honor him, the Gala Committee named the John H. Graham IV Association Executive Award to recognize an exceptional association executive each year who is passionately dedicated to the association and nonprofit communities and is thought of as an inspirational leader. Today we present Roger Dow, President and CEO of U.S. Travel Association, with the 2021 John H. Graham Association Executive Award in honor of exceptional scouting champion, a beloved colleague of many of yours, and our grandpa John H. Graham IV. Mr. Dow, would you please join us on stage?
In memory of my dad, I'd really like to present you an award, one of his favorite things, Johnny Walker Red Label.
Absolutely. Is this legal? Well, Harrison and Connor, your grandfather, who is a dear, dear friend of mine, would be very, very proud of you. And following your grandfather's footsteps, presenting me with a bottle of scotch is very appropriate, so I appreciate that. Thank you, Kelly. And I have to say, it's a great honor to be here. I've known John Graham for decades. He was a client of ours when I was with Marriott, and then got to know him through the association world, where Tom and others introduced me to this great world of associations and how much they mean. But just a terrific, terrific human being, and you heard all about all things he did. I'm joined by my fabulous wife, Linda, who actually, she gives me merit badges. I've got one in jewelry purchasing, I've got another one cleaning the garage, but I get merit badges from Linda. I'm also joined by my daughter, Devin, and her husband, Devin. It's easier that way. So they just had a little baby boy. They were going to name Devin, but they named him Jack instead. And colleagues of mine, Nan, Nicole, and Greg, good friends of mine. So great. I was in the hotel business, and I used to have Tom Donahue when he was at the Trucking Association, and Tom Kuhn, and John Graham at Diabetes as customers of mine. And when I, went into this association world, I said, it's great because all you do is go to parties. There's a Marriott party, the Hilton party. Then I found out it's real work. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that you had to work in this job, but it was really terrific. And Tom, you're such a dear friend. I mean, my gosh, what this guy's given to this community and just keeps giving, and just a dear, dear friend. I appreciate that. And I really, really think when I think of the Scouting Awards and when I think of the merit badges and all that, I'm very excited about one merit badge, and it's called the Exploration Merit Badge. And I think that's so very appropriate to explore because, no offense, Greg, but when you talk about really, or is it taking biscuits and a stick? Not many people doing biscuits on a stick these days, but the chance to travel around and explore the world, I think are so great, and I think that's so important. I think because when you travel the world, you really get a chance to see that we're more alike than we are different all over the world. You see possibilities, you see opportunities, and I think Mark Twain said it best well over 100 years ago. He said, travel is fatal to prejudice,
bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And that was good over 120 years ago, and it's so much more true today. So I really challenge all the scouts in the room, their families, and all the parents to travel, to get around and see this world. I think it's so important, and to earn that exploration badge, because it'll really open so many eyes and so many things in your eyes around the world. And when I was growing up, my parents used to talk about the 3 R's, and those a little old in the room remember they were reading, writing, and arithmetic. And for my children, we added a 4th R, Lynn and I, called roaming. And we challenged our children to roam around the world, because if you roam around the world, your opportunities will open to you, and the things you'll see are so important. If you don't roam around the world will pass you by. And I think that's so important. So to all of you, I thank you for this honor. To my very, very dear and cherished friend, John Graham, we love you for everything you did, and we remember you fondly. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. And by the way, no offense to the gentleman wearing the hat. The women look a lot better in those hats, and I like getting the scotch versus another hat, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger. John was truly an amazing role model for all Scouts. It's clear that the principles and values of Scouting make a difference in these communities, especially during times like the ones we're living in. On behalf of the National Capital Area Council, I'd like to thank all of you here tonight for your attendance and support. I'm a product of the program here in Scouting. I've been a Cub Scout, a Boy Scout, venturing, the Order of the Arrow. I haven't quite made my way to Sea Scouts or exploring, but maybe one day that'll be in my future. But, this program has changed my life. It's enabled me to create some of the most deep and meaningful friendships of my life, and most of all, it's given me a code to live by, the Scout Oath and Scout Law. But those stories that I have aren't unique. It's the story of Scouts all over, whether it's here or in NCAC or across the country. And that's why we're all here tonight, to continue changing young people's lives. So thank you once again for your support of Scouting. Thank you for being here tonight. This concludes our program. Safe travels home, and thanks once again for your support of Scouting. Have a great night.